Spoilers for Black Widow 2021, issues number 1 through 7. Black Widow can be a bit of a cold character. That makes sense, she's a super spy who was kidnapped, brainwashed, and trained to be a killer from a young age. Like, why would you be anything more than cold? Then there are times when she's made out to be the sympathetic one of the Avengers. Sometimes this feels like pretty open sexism, where the one female character has to be the mom of the group. That never made any sense to me considering her aforementioned origin. For this reason, it always felt difficult for me to come to grips with far too many characterizations for Black Widow. If she's too warm, it feels disingenuous and distant from her origin story. If she's cold, it makes sense, but it makes her more than a little unlikable in the hands of some writers. Some try to find this space in between, and she comes off as either innocent or a bit psychopathic. Sometimes that inconsistency is worked into her character being a super spy who's always acting. This all leaves me feeling like I don't actually know Natasha Romanoff. As unsatisfying as it is as a reader and a fan, it feels strangely fitting for a super spy who wears identities like people do hats. Now with this new run, the creative team seems to be tackling that. They give a clear and explained answer as to why Natasha's personality has changed, and why it will stay changed, along with giving her a clear goal that she may or may not ever reach. This isn't an entirely new idea, I just never expected it to be so tragic. I used to make long 20-minute videos about how characters can be considered tragic heroes during some of their most pivotal series. I did that 4 times, 2 of which have barely any views and 1 of which was later taken down. I point this out because the creative team here runs through the gambit of a bunch of tragic heroes' traits to create the emotionally destroying tale we have here. She hasn't necessarily gone through them all yet, but so far at issues 7 and 8, it feels like we can predict what they might be. The first 3 issues are surprisingly slow, but also not. Many people might get turned off by how the creative team rips the Black Widow out of her super spy element and plunges her into a domestic life. I get it. How many times can we see a hero lose their memories only to wake up in a perfect life that clearly isn't real? At the same time, have you ever heard the saying, "Sure, it's been written before, but not by you"? I like that phrase. It convinces me not to give up on my own writing, and I hope all writers hear it if they need it. I'm glad the creative team didn't decide to do something else with an old trope, because they really nailed it here. They spent the time turning Natasha into Natalie, creating a life we would envy. There's a world out there where the Black Widow can be happy. Too often, these can feel condescending and the audience may end up treating the hero's time under the veil as nothing more than build up to their eventual return. Not here. Natasha's life as Natalie is treated with respect, realism, and honesty. Why wouldn't she eventually want a quiet life? At the same time, of course, the Black Widow is going to eke out. They are both respectable paths of life for her, and the fact that one isn't meant to last doesn't take away from it either. But of course, the good life is taken away, and what feels like Black Widow's Angunoris. The Angunoris is the great reveal or revelation in the hero's story. Obviously the real is that her perfect life isn't real, and a lot of her memories with her family are fake. She was always going to figure out that her life isn't real eventually. This good life was never going to last because the Marvel Universe isn't merciful like that. But the moment Natasha comes out of the illusion, she doesn't drop the husband and child she was brainwashed into loving. Too often, once the gig is up, the hero will drop the happy life completely. They need a character arc to accept it, and that's when the character appears at their worst. Instead, Black Widow becomes her best. Not only does she have all of her skill, will, and cunning, she has something to use it for rather than the arbitrary greater good. It's a simple idea giving Black Widow a family to protect, but this series always makes it work with every issue. Sadly, the family has to go away, and when her family is taken away, they leave this part of themselves in her soul, and we have a true perpetua for the character. The perpetua, for those who don't know, is the reversal of fate the hero experiences. If going from having your family safe with you to needing them to run away, never to see them again, isn't a reversal of fate, then I don't know what is. Again, here we have the creative team using one of the oldest tropes in the book, having the hero's family forced away, never to be seen again. And of course, it's meant for their protection because the hero's enemies would never stop coming for them. The worst thing is that this hits like a truck. Black Widow has had a lot of red in her ledger, and if you're the kind of person who believes that red can be undone, then you should believe that Black Widow has certainly undone it. You should believe that she deserves a good life. I almost want to curse the name of the creatives for making me care this much about this new husband and son, for creating this perfect life for Natasha, only to rip it away, because then I wouldn't be experiencing the emotions that come with the hero's catharsis. In the journey of the tragic hero, the catharsis is the feelings of pity and fear that the audience feels for the protagonist after their downfall. I feel more than a little bit of pity and fear for her. I feel pity watching the mask of the Black Widow fall and Natasha's knees give way. Seeing her accept, but also break at knowing she'll never see her son again is heartbreaking. I'm not saying I don't think those characters will come back. They will, without a doubt, as long as this team gets to finish their run. That doesn't change the fact that the characters don't know that. Natasha doesn't know what we inherently know as veteran readers. We have to watch her fall apart and put herself back together again. I feel this pit in my chest, fearing the off chance that Natasha may end this series without being able to have her husband and son at her side again. It makes me want to take up drinking because I do love this happiness for her, but alas, if she hasn't, we don't have this story, and we don't see Black Widow develop her hamartia. The hamartia is the hero's tragic flaw that causes the downfall of a hero. We're only 1 arc and a half in, so I don't know what Black Widow's flaw is in this arc, but I have a prediction. Right now, heading into the second arc, the Black Widow has thrown herself headfirst into being a street-level superhero. She's pulling a Daredevil and claiming a city as her turf, a place she will personally protect herself. It will help her mourn her lost life, but also grow as a hero rather than a spy. While she does this, we see her coming to use a newfound ability to trust. She had to trust in her family before, which is something she did or didn't do depending on the writer before now. But I feel this becoming the hamartia that will lead to her downfall because she's consistently inconsistent with it. She doesn't trust her sister and side character Yelena with the full truth of her plans until after they're set in motion. She doesn't let her new tag-along make many decisions for herself. Yet, she trusts them and this old Spider-Girl to work by her rules and succeed in her operation. She appears to have total faith in their abilities, but doesn't appear to trust them enough to agree with her and her decisions. I see this coming to bite her in the butt as the series goes on, and revealing a bit of the hubris behind the Black Widow. Hubris is excessive pride and disrespect for the natural orders of things, which I'm sure most people have a basic understanding of. Black Widow's hubris could arguably be the same as, or at least connected to, her forming hamartia. By not trusting anyone else on her plans, but still making them perform them, she's inherently displaying the belief that she's the only one who knows what she's doing. It's even more apparent by how she disapproves of Yelena's desire to train their new recruit, and their recruit's new desire to learn. If Natasha doesn't learn from this mistake, she'll find her hubris and hamartia used against her by her eventual nemesis. The nemesis is the misfortune that a protagonist cannot avoid, usually due to retribution of their hubris or hamartia. This is honestly the only part of this new Black Widow run where I have no real prediction on what this would be. The other parts of a tragic hero have come and gone, but this one is yet to appear. Maybe it won't, and Black Widow will end up being a tragic hero. Either way though, you should start reading the current Black Widow series, not only to find out if she becomes a tragic hero, but if she gets to see her family again. Will she ever get Stevie and James back? And then if she does, will she still deserve her perfect life? She's about to become a kind of hero she hasn't been before in recent memory. One who sets up roots and cares for one place and his people with all she has. I can't help but feel as if Natasha Romanoff is trying to create a place safe enough for her family to return to. It would be a good goal for this series to work towards, and I'm beyond interested to see if and how it gets there. Even if you haven't cared for Black Widow before, give this series a chance. Pick it up once you're done thinking about the movie. Like and subscribe to the channel and let me know how you feel about Black Widow.